Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Social Work, SOSW, Postgraduate Diploma in Social Work Counseling, PGDCOUN. MSW013 Introduction to Psychological Basis of Counseling. Block 1 General Psychology. Unit 2 Definition, Nature and Importance of Personality, 2.0 Objectives. By the end of this unit you should be able to define personality, understand the various approaches to personality, and importance of personality. 2.1 Introduction. It is beauty that captures your attention, personality which captures your heart. Interest in personality is as old as civilization. There were many speculations among poets and philosophers of olden days about why individuals were unique and why they differed from one another in many different ways. Even today, almost every day we describe and assess the personalities of the people around us. It was not until the emergence of a scientific field of psychology, however, that personality became the focus of systematic research. Personality research has led to the development of a number of theories that help explain how and why certain personality traits develop. Personality refers to an individual's unique and relatively stable patterns of behavior, thoughts, and feelings. It has been used as a global descriptive label for a person's observable behavior and his or her subjectively reportable inner experience. The wholeness of an individual described in this way represents both the public and the private aspects of his or her life. 2.2 Definition of Personality. Gordon Willard Allport was one of the first psychologists to focus on the study of the personality, and is often referred to as one of the founding figures of personality psychology. Allport defined personality as the dynamic organization within the individual of those psychosocial systems that determine his unique adjustments to his environment. Later, Walter Mischel, 1976, said, personality consists of the distinctive patterns of behavior, including thoughts and emotions, that characterize each individual's adaptation to the situations of his or her life. However, most agree that personality includes the behavior patterns a person shows across situations or the psychological characteristics of the person that lead to those behavior patterns, according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association. Personality traits array enduring patterns of perceiving, relating to, and thinking about the environment and oneself that are exhibited in a wide range of social and personal contexts. Theorists generally assume that a. Traits are relatively over time. b. Traits differ among individuals, e.g. some people are outgoing while others are reserved, and c. Traits influence behavior. Personality has been studied extensively by many psychologists. Some have developed theories to explain the origins and makeup of personality. Others have focused only on one or two issues, such as the influence of heredity on personality. We will be discussing type and trait theories of personality in this unit, and the other approaches will be discussed in detail in the following units, i.e., Unit III and IV. 2.3 Nature OFPERSONALITY. Personality is made up the characteristic patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that make a person unique. Personality originates within the individual and remains fairly consistent throughout life. Personality psychologists are interested in the unique characteristics of individuals, as well as similarities among groups of people. Some of the fundamental characteristics of personality include consistency. There is generally a recognizable order and regularity behaviors. Essentially, people act in the same ways or similar ways in a variety of situations. Psychological and physiological. Personality is a psychological construct, but research suggests that it is also influenced by biological processes and needs. Impact behaviors and actions. Personality does not just influence how we move and respond in our environment, it also causes us to act in certain ways. Multiple expressions. Personality is displayed in more than just behavior. It can also be seen in our thoughts, feelings, close relationships, and other social interactions. Type and trait theories of personality. Type and trait theories of personality both focus on people's personal characteristics. Perhaps the earliest known theory of personality is that of the Greek physician Hippocrates, 400 BC, now known as the father of medicine. He characterized human behavior in terms of 4 temperaments, each associated with a different bodily fluid, or humor. The sanguine associated with blood, cheerful, vigorous, confidently optimistic. The melancholic type, sad, depressed, morose, with black bile. The phlegmatic type, slow-moving, calm, and lethargic, with phlegm, and the choleric, hot-tempered, angry. Type with yellow bile. Hippocrates' system remained influential in Western Europe. Throughout the medieval and Renaissance periods, the groupings or sets of types are called typologies. Abundant references to the four humors can be found in the plays of Shakespeare, and the terms with which Hippocrates labeled the four personality types are still in common use today. Since the time of Hippocrates, countless other ways of grouping people into types have been tried. The theory of temperaments is among a variety of systems that deal with human personality by dividing it into types, a widely popularized, but scientifically dubious modern typology of personality was developed in the 1940s by William Sheldon, an American psychologist. Sheldon classified personality into three categories based on body types: the endomorph, heavy and easygoing; mesomorph, muscular and aggressive; and ectomorph, thin and intellectual or artistic. A major weakness of Sheldon's morphological classification system and other type theories in general is the element of oversimplification inherent in placing individuals into a single category, which ignores the fact that every personality represents a unique combination of qualities. Originally published in the 1950s, the Type A and Type B personality theory is a theory which describes two common, contrasting personality types, the high-strung type A and the easygoing type B, as patterns of behavior that could either raise or lower, respectively, one's chances of developing coronary heart disease. Though it has been widely controversial in the scientific and medical communities since its publication, the theory has nonetheless persisted, both in the form of popular psychology and in the general lexicon, as a way to describe one's personality. Such descriptions are still often equated with coronary heart disease or other health issues, though not always as a direct result of the theory. Type A personality behavior was first described as a potential risk factor for heart disease in the 1950s by cardiologists Meyer Friedman and R. H. Rosenman, after a 10-year study of healthy men between the ages of 35 and 59. Friedman and Rosenman estimated that type A behavior doubles the risk of coronary heart disease in otherwise healthy individuals. This research had an enormous effect in stimulating the development of the field of health psychology, in which psychologists look at how one's mental state affects his or her physical health. The Type A, B theory has been criticized on a number of grounds by mathematicians, medical professionals, and scientists. On the basis of these criticisms, the theory has been termed obsolete by many researchers in contemporary health psychology and personality psychology. Systems that address personality as a combination of qualities or dimensions are called trait theories. The trait approach to personality is focused on differences between individuals. The combination and interaction of various traits forms a personality that is unique to each individual. Trait theory is focused on identifying and measuring these individual personality characteristics. Well-known trait theorist Gordon Allport, 1897 to 1967, extensively investigated the ways in which traits combine to form normal personalities, cataloging over 18,000 separate traits over a period of 30 years. He categorized these traits into three levels. Cardinal traits, traits that dominate an individual's whole life, often to the point that the person becomes known specifically for these traits. People with such personalities often become so known for these traits that their names are often synonymous with these qualities. Consider the origin and meaning of the following descriptive terms: Freudian, Machiavellian, narcissism, Don Juan, Christ-like, etc. Allport suggested that cardinal traits are rare and tend to develop later in life. Central traits, these are the general characteristics that form the basic foundations of personality. These central traits, while not as dominating as cardinal traits, are the major characteristics you might use to describe another person. Terms such as intelligent, honest, shy and anxious are considered central traits. Secondary traits, these are the traits that are sometimes related to attitudes or preferences and often appear only in certain situations or under specific circumstances. Some examples would be getting anxious when speaking to a group, or impatient while waiting in line. Allport's attempt to make trait analysis more manageable and useful by simplifying it was expanded by subsequent researchers, who found ways to group traits into clusters through a process known as factor analysis. Trait theorist Raymond Cattell, 1905-1998, reduced the number of main personality traits from Allport's initial list to 171. Mostly by eliminating uncommon traits and combining common characteristics. Next, Cattell rated a large sample of individuals for these 171 different traits. Then, using a statistical technique known as factor analysis, he identified closely related terms and eventually reduced his list to just 16 key personality traits. Raymond Cattell's 16 personality factors. Descriptors of low range, primary factor. Participating, likes people, affectothymia. Concrete thinking, lower general mental capacity, less intelligent. Unable to handle abstract problems, lower scholastic mental capacity, reasoning, B. Abstract thinking, more intelligent. Bright, higher general mental capacity, fast learner, higher. Scholastic mental capacity. Reactive emotionally, changeable, affected by feelings, emotionally less stable, easily upset, lower ego strength. Emotional stability, C. Emotionally stable, adaptive. Mature, faces reality calmly, higher ego strength. Deferential, cooperative, avoids conflict, submissive, humble, obedient, easily led, docile, accommodating, submissiveness. Dominance, A. Dominant, forceful, assertive, aggressive, competitive, stubborn, bossy, dominance. Serious, restrained, prudent, taciturn, introspective, silent. Disurgency, liveliness, F. Lively, animated, spontaneous. Enthusiastic, happy-go-lucky, cheerful, expressive, impulsive. Surgency, expedient, non-conforming, disregards rules, self-indulgent, low. Superego strength, rule consciousness, G. Rule conscious, dutiful, conscientious, conforming. Moralistic, staid, rule-bound, high superego strength. Shy, threat-sensitive, timid. Hesitant, intimidated, flexure, social, boldness, H. Socially bold, venturesome, thick-skinned, uninhibited, permia. Utilitarian, objective, unsentimental, tough-minded, self-reliant, no-nonsense, rough, haria, sensitivity, I. Sensitive, aesthetic. Sentimental, tender-minded, intuitive, refined, premsia. Trusting, unsuspecting, accepting, unconditional, easy, alaxia. Vigilance, L. Vigilant, suspicious, skeptical, distrustful, oppositional. Pretension, grounded, practical, prosaic, solution-oriented, steady. Conventional, praxonia, abstractedness, M. Abstract, imaginative, absent-minded, impractical, absorbed in ideas, autia. Forthright, genuine, artless, open, guileless, naive, unpretentious. Involved, artlessness, privateness, N. Private. Discreet, non-disclosing, shrewd, polished, worldly, astute, diplomatic, shrewdness. Self-assured, unworried, complacent, secure, free of guilt. Confident, self-satisfied, untroubled. Apprehension, O. Apprehensive, self-doubting, worried, guilt-prone, insecure. Worrying, self-blaming, guilt. Proneness, traditional, attached to familiar. Conservative, respecting. Traditional ideas, conservatism. Openness to change, Q1. Open to change, experimental. Liberal, analytical, critical, free. Thinking, flexibility, radicalism. Group-oriented, affiliative, A. Joiner and follower dependent. Group adherence, self-reliance, Q2. Self-reliant, solitary, resourceful. Individualistic, self-sufficient, self-sufficiency. Tolerates disorder, unexacting. Flexible, undisciplined, lax, self-conflict, impulsive, careless of. Social rules, uncontrolled, low. Integration, perfectionism, Q3. Perfectionistic, organized, compulsive, self-disciplined, socially precise, exacting will. Power, control, self-sentimental. High self-concept control, relaxed, placid, tranquil, topid. Patient, composed low drive, low. Urgent tension, tension, Q4. Tense, high energy, impatient. Driven, frustrated, overwrought. Time-driven, high urgent tension. Primary factors and descriptors in Cattell's 16 personality factor model, adapted from Kohn. Personality Factor Questionnaire, 16 PF. British psychologist Hans Eysenck, 1916 to 1997, developed a model of personality based upon just 3 universal traits. Introversion, extroversion. Introversion involves directing attention on inner experiences, while extroversion relates to focusing attention outward on other people and the environment. So, a person high in introversion might be quiet and reserved, while an individual high in extroversion might be sociable and outgoing. Neuroticism, emotional stability. This dimension of Eysenck's trait theory is related to moodiness versus even-temperedness. Neuroticism refers to an individual's tendency to become upset or emotional, while stability refers to the tendency to remain emotionally constant. Psychoticism. Later, after studying individuals suffering from mental illness, Eysenck added a personality dimension he called psychoticism to his trait theory. Individuals who are high on this trait tend to have difficulty dealing with reality and may be antisocial, hostile, non-empathetic and manipulative. Both Cattell's and Eysenck's theory have been the subject of considerable research, which has led some theorists to believe that Cattell focused on too many traits, while Eysenck focused on too few. As a result, a new trait theory, often referred to as the Big Five theory, emerged. The five broad factors were discovered and defined by several independent sets of researchers. Digman, 1990. These researchers began by studying known personality traits and then factor analyzing hundreds of measures of these traits, in self-report and questionnaire data, peer ratings, and objective measures from experimental settings, in order to find the underlying factors of personality. The initial model was advanced by Ernest Toupez and Raymond Crystal in 1961, but failed to reach an academic audience until the 1980s. In 1990, J. M. Digman advanced his five-factor model of personality, which Goldberg extended to the highest level of organization. Goldberg, 1993. These five overarching domains have been found to contain and subsume most known personality traits and are assumed to represent the basic structure behind all personality traits. These five factors provide a rich conceptual framework for integrating all the research findings and theory in personality psychology. The Big Five traits are also referred to as the Five-Factor Model, or FFM. Koster, followed by Goldberg at the Oregon Research Institute, Cattell at the University of Illinois, and Koster and McRae at the National Institutes of Health. These four sets of researchers used somewhat different methods in finding the five traits, and thus each set of five factors has somewhat different names and definitions. However, all have been found to be highly intercorrelated and factor analytically aligned. Because the Big Five traits are broad and comprehensive, they are not nearly as powerful in predicting and explaining actual behavior as are the more numerous lower-level traits. Many studies have confirmed that in predicting actual behavior, the more numerous facet or primary level traits are far more effective, e.g. Mershon. Consistent, cautious, general appreciation for art, emotion, adventure, unusual ideas, imagination, curiosity, and variety of experience. The trait distinguishes imaginative people from down-to-earth, conventional people. People who are open to experience are intellectually curious, appreciative of art, and sensitive to beauty. They tend to be, compared to closed people, more creative and more aware of their feelings. They are more likely to hold unconventional beliefs. People with low scores on openness tend to have more conventional, traditional interests. They prefer the plain, straightforward, and obvious over the complex, ambiguous, and subtle. They might regard the arts and sciences with suspicion or even view these endeavors as uninteresting. 2. Conscientiousness, efficient, organized versus easygoing, careless, tendency to show self-discipline, act dutifully, and aim for achievement. The trait shows a preference for planned rather than spontaneous behavior. It influences the way in which we control, regulate, and direct our impulses. Conscientiousness includes the factor known as need for achievement. 3. Extroversion, outgoing, energetic versus shy, reserved, characterized by positive emotions, surge, and the tendency to seek out stimulation and the company of others. The trait is marked by pronounced engagement with the external world. Extroverts enjoy being with people, and are often perceived as full of energy. They tend to be enthusiastic, action-oriented individuals who are likely say yes, or let's go, to opportunities for excitement. In groups they like to talk, assert themselves, and draw attention toward themselves. Introverts lack the social exuberance and activity levels of extroverts. They tend to seem quiet, low-key, deliberate, and less involved in the social world. Their lack of social involvement should not be interpreted as shyness or depression. Introverts simply need less stimulation than extroverts and more time alone. They may be very active and energetic, simply not socially. 4. Agreeableness, friendly, compassionate versus cold, unkind, tendency to be compassionate and cooperative rather than suspicious and antagonistic towards others. The trait reflects individual differences in general concern for social harmony. Agreeable individuals value getting along with others. They are generally considerate, friendly, generous, helpful, and willing to compromise their interests with others. Agreeable people also have an optimistic view of human nature. They believe people are basically honest, decent, and trustworthy. Disagreeable individuals place self-interest above getting along with others. They are generally unconcerned with others' well-being, and are less likely extend themselves for other people. Sometimes their skepticism about others' motives causes them to be suspicious, unfriendly, and uncooperative. 5. Neuroticism, sensitive, nervous versus secure, confident, the tendency to experience negative emotions, such as anger, anxiety, or depression. It is sometimes called emotional instability. Those who score high in neuroticism are emotionally reactive and vulnerable to stress. They are more likely to interpret ordinary situations as threatening, and minor frustrations as hopelessly difficult. Their negative emotional reactions tend to persist for unusually long periods of time, which means they are often in a bad mood. These problems in emotional regulation can diminish the ability of a person scoring high on neuroticism to think clearly, make decisions, and cope effectively with stress. At the other end of the scale, individuals who score low in neuroticism are less easily upset and are less emotionally reactive. They tend to be calm, emotionally stable, and free from persistent negative feelings. Freedom from negative feelings does not mean that low scorers experience a lot of positive feelings. Issues and controversies in personality theory and research. The study of personality involves much more than the grand theories that we discuss here and in the following units, Unit 3 and IV. In fact, many psychologists have become disenchanted with sweeping efforts to capture the whole person in a single theory and have turned, instead, to focused research on specific issues in personality. We will see a couple of issues here. Genes and personality. 1 is perhaps the oldest issue in psychology, nature vs nurture. The nature-nurture debate really concerns the relative impact of heredity and environment. Virtually no one believes that nature alone, or nurture alone, completely determines the course of our development. Psychologists today agree that development is shaped by the interaction of heredity and environment. Within this interaction, our genetic endowment for many characteristics provides us with a reaction range, that is, a range of possible levels that we may ultimately reach, depending on the quality of our experience in the environment. Most of the theories emphasize the acquisition of personality after birth. Consistent with this emphasis, researchers also find that genetic endowment also play an influential role in the formation of one's personality. The person-situation controversy. Another major issue in personality research is called the person-situation controversy. As is true of most debates, the person-situation controversy has involved a small number of theorists at both extremes and many occupying the middle ground. At the extreme person end are a few theorists, often of the dynamic group, see Unit 3, who believe that people possess certain core drives, motives, conflicts, or tendencies that produce consistency in their behavior across situations. At the extreme situational end of the controversy are theorists like B. F. Skinner, 1904 to 1990, who believe that notions like traits of character and free will should be dropped and who favor a detailed account of the environment and how it determines our behavior. There are several extreme positions, however, they have developed, in part, because much of the relevant research has been inconclusive. Some studies seem to show that people's behavior depends more on who they are and what their characteristics are, while other studies show that people's behavior depends more on the situations they find themselves in. So the person-situation controversy has moved toward an interactionist viewpoint. Most personality researchers now agree that the relative impact of person characteristics and situation characteristics depend on which persons and which situations we choose to study. 2.4 Importance of personality. The more you know about personalities, the better you will be able to understand why people do the things they do, and how to communicate with them. People who design advertisements are experts at how people think, and can come up with advertisements that help to sell their products. Society's leaders are experts at making people want to follow their way of doing things. If you understand other people, you are also more likely get along with them and not have wars. Studying your own personality is also good. The more you understand about how your mind works and how you think and feel, the better you are able to control your mind and not just react blindly to what's going on around you. It is important to study personality types because it helps to know the why, who, where, when, how and what of personalities. The study of personality has much relevance in both industrial and clinical psychology. Let us examine this. Personality and behavior in work settings. Psychologists have long recognized the importance of work in our lives, and in fact, industrial, organizational psychologists specialize in studying all aspects of behavior in work settings, everything from how People actually perform their jobs and the attitudes they hold about them, i.e., job satisfaction, through factors that increase or decrease their motivation to work and their willingness to help or harm other people in their work settings. Let's look briefly at two of these applications, personality and job performance, and the role of personality in workplace aggression. Personality and job performance. Industrial psychologists believe that people will be happiest and do their best work when person job fit is high, when the individuals who hold various jobs have personal characteristics, personality traits, or other attributes that suit them for the work they do. Systematic research offers clear support for this of View Day, B. Dean, Salgado, 1997. Reviewed previous research conducted with literally tens of thousands of participants that examined the relationship between individuals standing on the big five dimensions and job performance. Many different occupational groups were included: professionals, police, managers, salespersons, skilled laborers, and several kinds of performance measures, e.g., ratings of individuals' performance by managers or others, performance during training programs, personal records, were examined. The results showed that conscientiousness and emotional stability were both significantly related to job performance across all occupational groups and across all measures of performance. In other words, the higher individuals scored on these dimensions, the better their job performance. Many other studies have confirmed and extended these results. For example, consider these findings: individuals seeking conscientiousness are less likely to be absent from work than those low on this dimension, while the opposite is true for persons high in extroversion. Judge, Martocchio. Personality and workplace aggression. While overt violence is the most dramatic form of aggression in workplaces, such behavior is relatively rare. Research indicates that other, more subtle forms of aggression, e.g., spreading false rumors about someone, talking behind someone's back, are much more common. Additional findings indicate that persons possessing certain traits, e.g., typers, are more likely get involved in workplace aggression than other persons. However, many factors other than personality also seem to play a strong role in determining whether, and with what intensity, workplace aggression occurs. Factors such as feelings of having been treated unfairly by others. Greenberg. Aggression. Clearly, this would be beneficial both to employees and to the companies where they work. Clinical importance of personality. Clinical psychology is the scientific study, diagnosis, and treatment of people who have psychological problems adjusting to themselves and the environment. Clinical psychologists deal with both normal and abnormal behavior. They administer and interpret psychological tests and assist in the diagnosis and treatment of mental disorders. They also study the structure and development of personality. The word personality may have certain qualifying adjectives with psychiatric significance appended to it, such as passive or aggressive, or words without psychological overtones, such as ambitious, religious, or friendly. A coherent series of such qualifications making up a personality disorder diagnosis implies certain predictions about how a person will behave under given sets of circumstances. Persons with personality disorders are far more likely to refuse professional help and to deny their problems than persons with anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, or obsessive-compulsive disorder. Personality disorder symptoms are realloplastic, i.e., able to adapt to and alter the external environment, and egosyntonic, i.e., acceptable to the ego. Persons with personality disorders do not feel anxious about their maladaptive behavior because they do not routinely acknowledge pain from what others perceive as their symptoms. They often see disinterested in treatment and impervious to recovery. Personality disorders are pervasive chronic psychological disorders which can greatly affect a person's life. Having a personality disorder can negatively affect one's work, one's family, and one's social life. Personality disorders exist on a continuum, so they can be mild to severe in terms of how pervasive and to what extent a person exhibits the features of a particular personality disorder. While most people can live pretty normal lives with mild personality disorders, or more simply, personality traits, during times of increased stress or external pressures, work, family, a new relationship, etc., the symptoms of the personality disorder will gain strength and begin to seriously interfere with their emotional and psychological functioning. Those with a personality disorder possess several distinct psychological features, including disturbances in self-image, ability to have successful interpersonal relationships, appropriateness of range of emotion, ways of perceiving themselves, others, and the world, and difficulty possessing proper impulse control. These disturbances come together to create a pervasive pattern of behavior and inner experience that is quite different from the norms of the individuals. Culture and that often tend to be expressed in behaviors that appear more dramatic than what society considers usual. Therefore, those with a personality disorder often experience conflicts with other people and vice versa. There are 10 different types of personality disorders that exist, which all have various emphases. There are as many potential causes of personality disorders as there are people who suffer from them. They may be caused by a combination of parental upbringing, one's personality and social development, as well as genetic and biological factors. Research has not narrowed down the cause to any factor at this time. We do know, however, that these disorders will most often manifest themselves during increased times of stress and interpersonal difficulties in one's life. Therefore, treatment most often focuses on increasing one's coping mechanisms and interpersonal skills. To make it more clear for your understanding, we will now go on to discuss the clinical manifestations of one of the common personality disorders, for example, obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, and analyze the case history of a patient with the disorder. Classification of personality disorders clusters, DSM-IV. 1. Cluster A, odd and eccentric, paranoid PD, schizoid PD, schizotypal PD. 2. Cluster B, dramatic, emotional and erratic, antisocial PD, histrionic PD, narcissistic PD, borderline PD. 3. Cluster C, anxious and fearful, avoidant PD, dependent PD, obsessive-compulsive PD. Obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. Obsessive-compulsive personality disorder is characterized by emotional constriction, orderliness, perseverance, stubbornness, and indecisiveness. The essential feature of the disorder is a pervasive pattern of perfectionism and inflexibility. ICD-10 uses the name anancastic personality disorder. Epidemiology. The prevalence of obsessive-compulsive personality disorder is unknown. It is more common in men than in women and is diagnosed most often in eldest children. The disorder also occurs more frequently in first-degree biological relatives of persons with the disorder than in the general population. Patients often have backgrounds characterized by harsh discipline. Freud hypothesized that the disorder is associated with difficulties in the anal stage of psychosexual development, generally around the age of 2, but various studies have failed to validate this theory. Diagnosis. In interviews, patients with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder may have a stiff, formal, and rigid demeanor. Their affect is not blunted or flat but can be described as constricted. They lack spontaneity, and their mood is usually serious. Such patients may be anxious about not being in control of the interview. Their answers to questions are unusually detailed. The defense mechanisms they use are rationalization, isolation, intellectualization, reaction formation and undoing. Clinical features. Persons with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder are preoccupied with rules, regulations, orderliness, neatness, details and the achievement of perfection. These traits account for the general constriction of the entire personality. They insist that rules be followed rigidly and cannot tolerate what they consider infractions. Accordingly, they lack flexibility and are intolerant. They are capable of prolonged work, provided it is routinized and does not require changes to which they cannot adapt. Case history. Ms. C, a 41-year-old grocery store manager, comes for an evaluation at the insistence of the regional manager of the chain for which she works. Ms. C has failed to turn in the last 4 periodic reports on time, and her store has one of the lowest productivity ratings in the chain. Even though she usually comes in earlier and stays later than any of the other managers and appears to be busy every minute of the day, Ms. C has frequent battles with her employees and has the highest turnover rate of employees in the chain. When confronted with these problems, she insists that her store is being run properly and by the book, unlike the others in the chain, which are maintaining shoddy standards. It is easy to identify the source of difficulty in the store. Ms. C insists that her employees shelve and arrange goods in exquisitely straight lines. She checks, double checks, triple checks, and quadruple checks all her figures, which is why her periodic reports never get in on time. She micromanages every aspect of the store's operation and, consequently, her meat produce managers find it annoying and time-consuming. She is constantly drawing up charts, tables, graphs, and employee directives. She spends more of her time each morning constructing an elaborate to-do list that she never finds time to complete. Ms. C has been married for 15 years and has 2 children in their early teens. Her husband is a postal worker. Mr. C reported to the therapist that until M.C. began working at the store 6 years ago, they had lots of marital struggles because of M.C.'s need to oversee and direct every aspect of his life. She had insisted on knowing where he was at every moment and had tried to plan all his leisure time activities. He said that it was a great relief to him when she began to work at the store and became too busy pay so much attention to his life. Mr. C says that he and the children have a hard time persuading his wife to take a vacation and that it generally does not turn out to be much fun when she does agree to go. M.C. plans their itinerary and activities minutely and insists that everyone must participate in what she has scheduled. Nothing is allowed to be spontaneous or unplanned, and everyone is expected to spend their time productively. Even when on vacation, M.C. comes by her perfectionism honestly. Both her parents were austere, driven and highly critical. No matter how hard she worked or what she achieved, it never seemed like enough. She began being a maid in her own house at the age of 5 and began to do chores for others by the age of 9 so she could begin to save money. A penny saved is a penny earned. Nothing but a grades in school was acceptable to her parents. If she made a 95 on a test, her mother would ask her, "Where are the other 5 points?" Even though M.C. can admit that she often found her parents' attitude painful and frustrating, she finds herself reacting to her own children in much the same way. Although she tries to praise them for their accomplishments, she always finds herself demanding that they work harder and perform better, even when they have done well. DSM-IV case studies. Persons with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder have limited interpersonal skills. They are formal and serious and often lack a sense of humor. They alienate persons, are unable to compromise, and insist that others submit to their needs. They are, however, eager to please those whom they see as more powerful than they are. And they carry out these persons' wishes in an authoritarian manner, because they fear making mistakes. They are indecisive and ruminate about making decisions. Although a stable marriage and occupational adequacy are common, persons with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder have few friends. Anything that threatens to upset their perceived stability or the routine of their lives can precipitate a great deal of anxiety otherwise bound up in the rituals that they impose on their lives and try to impose on others. 2.5 Summary. The study of personality emphasizes normal individual variation. Definitions of personality vary from one theorist to the next, but most agree that it consists of distinctive patterns of behavior, including thoughts and emotions, that characterize a person's adaptation to the situations of his or her life. Types are collections of individuals said to share some common characteristics. Most theorists have not worked well because such collections of individuals typically leave out much of the population. Type theorists have dealt with this problem in 2 ways. Some, such as Eysenck, have defined their types in terms of personality dimensions, with every individual falling somewhere on each dimension. Other typologies, such as type A and type B distinction, focus on extreme cases that fit a specific definition or strike zone and simply ignore individuals who don't fit traits. Our tendencies to behave in relatively consistent and distinctive ways across situations. Allport judged people's cardinal, central, and secondary traits by examining their personal documents, such as letters and diaries. Others have focused on a single trait, such as locus of control. Personalities develop early and are shaped by external and internal environment. How one is treated, what kind of environment he or she is brought up in, and the genes one inherits, has a lot to do with the personality that develop. Family, genes and environment are the 3 focal roles that shape a personality, although some experts feel that one's environment is the most important. By studying personality types, one can find out if he or she is an extrovert, an introvert, phobic, narcissistic and so forth. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video, with next chapter.